I've got two words for you. MTV Unplugged. Is that right? Anyway, from the moment you saw the image of this guitar in the thumbnail, you probably already had a riff playing in your head. It's one of the most iconic acoustic 12-string guitar lines in rock history, which is why this guitar is as famous as that song. I'm Thom Tran. This is the show where I go in-depth into my guitar collection to give you all the gear nerdy goodness, like specs and pricing, but also the story, both historical and personal, about these rare and special instruments and how they got into our hands. This is the story behind the strings. Hello again, or hello for the first time to my new viewers. Before we get started, don't forget to hit all the buttons to like, subscribe, and share the show. I don't know which graphic the editor is going to use yet. If you're a returning viewer, you'll notice that I'm in a different location. The first 4 episodes were shot in my office in my house, but it's a small home office where I do office stuff. So I decided to move things into my studio, which is a little bit bigger, and this is where we record my podcast, The Scary Funny Show. This is my Ovation Celebrity CSD225 Doubleneck 6-string, 12-string acoustic electric guitar. My God, that is a mouthful. Now, that famous guitar riff I mentioned is, of course, the Thong song by Cisco. Obviously, that is a joke. The iconic riff is the intro to Bon Jovi's Wanted Dead or Alive from the 1986 album Slippery When Wet. Fun fact, you cannot wear the t-shirt of the original album cover in most corporate business settings, according to my company's HR department. Here are the specs on this multi-headed beast. There were 2 variants of this guitar, the CSD225, which I have here, and the CSE225. And according to Ovation Guitars, quote, "The 2 models come from different manufacturing eras, but the specifications are largely the same, and there are a few visual differences like color, inlays, or the fingerboard ends, but both have the necks in the same arrangement, a super shallow bowl, and the OP24 Plus preamp. Both models have a 6-string and 12-string neck configuration, with the 6 strings on the bottom and the 12 strings on the top neck. It's got a spruce top, multi-sound hole system, and a super shallow lyricord body. They've got mahogany necks with rosewood fingerboards and a walnut bridge. It's got a 25¼ inch scale. The nut width is 42.8 millimeters on the 6-string, and the 12-string nut comes in at 48 millimeters. It's got a multi-hardwood these things. The neck has abalone fingerboard inlays and an ivory white binding with multiply perfect. It's got die-cast Ovation machine heads in gold.
I love gold!
These weigh in at just under 9 pounds, and it comes with an OP24 Plus preamp and 2 OCP 1K pickups, and a 3-way toggle switch on the top. As for the differences mentioned by Ovation, the CSD225, this model came in a cherry burst finish. The inlays were this combination of dots and diamonds, while the CSE225 was more of a darker ruby red burst, and those inlays were small triangle patterns. Now, those were the only differences I could find, but if I'm missing anything, let me know in the comments below. According to Ovation, the CSE225 model was offered in Europe as late as 2021 in 2 colors, the ruby red burst that I just mentioned and a sweet looking blue. The suggested retail cost was about 2,300 euros, which is about 2,500 US dollars as of July 2023. Although these aren't readily available at music stores, you can usually find 1 or 2 on the third-party market online for between $1,000 and $2,000. I've seen excellent condition pieces listed for as much as $4,000. But that's for the CSE225 model. I haven't seen this CSD225 model for sale for a while, and those prices fluctuate wildly. I've seen completed auctions and sales for the CSD225, this one, for between $500 and $2,500. I personally got this one for just under $650, including a giant case that goes with it, and the case alone is selling for about $250. Ovation Guitar started making these double-neck 6-string, 12-string guitars in the 1970s, but Richie Sambora didn't play this exact model guitar on the recording of Wanted Dead or Alive, or even live in concert. But this style acoustic guitar, the Ovation super shallow bowl double-neck 6-string, 12-string setup, is synonymous with that song. The custom-made model that he did play would eventually be known as the Ovation RSE 225 Richie Sambora Signature Elite double-neck 6-string, 12-string model. It was commercially sold by Ovation in 2018. If you want an in-depth look into that guitar, let me know in the comments below. And although Wanted was released in 1986, I think it was a 1989 MTV Video Music Awards performance that made this guitar
legend, wait for it, dairy.
Because up to that point, you only saw fleeting shots of it in music videos or at live performances if you happened to be at that concert. YouTube wasn't a thing in the late 80s, so you couldn't share a video or a photo of it with your friends like you should share this video.
Oh, okay, I see what you did there.
But at the 1989 MTV Video Music Awards, Richie, along with lead singer and band namesake Jon Bon Jovi, just sat on stage by themselves with two guitars. Jon with a traditional Ovation roundback acoustic, and Richie with his signature custom black double neck. They only played a couple of songs that night. An acoustic version of their hits Livin' on a Prayer and Wanted Dead or Alive. That two-song set was seen by millions, and the status of those songs and this instrument was solidified in music history. That barely 8-minute performance is widely considered the birthplace of the MTV Unplugged series, which brought us memorable stripped-down sets by Eric Clapton, LL Cool J, and Nirvana, just to name a few. And again, this model guitar, the CSD225, is not the one Richie played, but it was the only thing close to a signature black double neck that you could commercially buy at the time. Now, if you've watched episode 2 of this series, then you know the story behind the strings.
He said it, he said it.
Then you know about my affinity for Richie Sambora and his guitars, especially his Black Paisley signature Stratocaster. And if you haven't watched that episode, the link for it is up here somewhere, I don't know. So it's not a huge leap to understand why I bought this guitar. Bon Jovi was the biggest thing in the 1980s, and I remember watching that 1989 MTV Video Music Awards performance. I was like, maybe 10 years old at the time, and it was the first time I heard an acoustic arrangement of any rock song, much less two of the biggest hits ever. But it was 1989, and I was 10 years old, and I didn't have any money. I mean, my voice hadn't even started changing yet. And then a few years later, sometime in high school, I got myself an Alvarez acoustic 12-string from somewhere. And I'm not gonna lie, I hated tuning that thing. So when I joined the Army and I needed to pare down some of my gear, I sold it. And as with most of the guitars in this series, we fast forward to Los Angeles. This time, it's 2015. My iPhone had shuffled onto an old Boston tune called Amanda. And I learned that song for a girl once. Her name was not Amanda, which is probably why that didn't work out. But the song is played on a 12-string, and its opening G chord is haunting. So I combed the interwebs looking for deals, and I got this one for a steal. With the case and shipping, came to just over $600. Considering they've recently sold for close to $1,500, I think it was a win for me. But besides the sentimental attachment to it, I mean, it is cool as hell. Now, before we go, I would be remiss if I did not mention a very rare instrument, one that I believe there were only two made, especially for Richie. It was his famous triple neck acoustic, which had a mandolin on the top, a 6-string in the middle, and the 12-string on the bottom. 3 instruments in one. Three. Just like that woman in that Arnold movie, Total Recall. The one with 3, you know. You know. What is wrong with you? You know you were thinking it. No, no one was thinking it. We're talking about guitars. Yeah, you were. She spilled coffee on Captain Picard, you know. I mean, he's not wrong, she did. Anyway, that wraps up another episode of The Story Behind the Strings. I hope you liked it. Do you have a double neck or a triple neck? What is your favorite 12-string song? Stairway? Hotel California? More Than a Feeling by Boston? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching the show. Please remember to like the video, subscribe to the page, and tap the bell icon to be notified when a new episode drops. Those are quick, easy, and free ways you can support the show. If you've got a little thrown around money, please consider supporting the show at Patreon, where you can suggest a guitar for me to go behind the strings of, even if I don't own it. Follow me on all the places, including Instagram, Facebook, Threads, and TikTok, and links for everything are in the show notes. Thanks again, and let the strings tell your story. Ah, you were thinking it.